The person I'm about to introduce remains an integral part of our organization. With his webcasting the home games, second to none. We've got the best webcaster in the KIJHL, best camera person, Tom Shields, Damien Hanna, respectively. So Tom's going to come on up. He always has the highlights for us, too, on the YouTube videos. As mentioned, unfortunately, did put a lot of hours into the highlight package this year, but we're not going to be able to play it because of technical difficulties. But I still bring you the legendary broadcaster, the pride of Collingwood, Ontario, Tom Shields.
I just thought I'd mention that I am going to put the video up on the YouTube, and it'll be through the Coyote website. I heard Randy mention about positive experience. I guess I learned about that back in the 1970s. I had tension headaches, and I learned how to be positive and envision what you want in life. Such as Seth Creasy here told me a few weeks back he wants to play junior hockey. So you put a plan in place and you motivate yourself by seeing it, right? Well, this is the third Tuesday in February, and I didn't really notice this until I realized it yesterday, that I had an experience that may be the positive thing. Can it save a person's life? I'll let you decide. It was 16 years ago today. At 7 in the morning, they wheeled me into St. Paul's Hospital operating room with about 20 doctors and nurses around and tons of equipment. They put me out because I didn't know what was happening, and then they cut me from here down to about my belly button. They went in and took some clippers and broke my breastbone and pulled it all apart. And then they hooked me up to some sort of a device because they went into my body and took my heart out of my body for about 5 hours. They had told me at Penticton Hospital on February 10th that I had a hole inside my heart, between the right and the left side. They said, do you want to see a film of this? What we're going to do? I said, no. No, I don't. What I did though, from the time I knew, and I had about 9 days, I said the following sentence to myself probably 10,000 times. Following my surgery, I want my body to heal in a fast, safe, and appropriate manner. And I lay in the hospital bed visualizing that. So they went in, they took my heart out, they ripped a vein out from my ankle up to my groin. They cut my heart open, they went inside, they fixed the hole because for about 6 weeks, every time my heart was beating, it was mostly the blood going back and forth in my heart and very little to the rest of my body. They fixed that up, gave me a triple bypass, put my heart back in my body, gave it a slap, and wheeled me out of the operating room at about 6.5 hours later. They took some tubes out of me, and then it's where it's interesting. They wheeled me back to my room. I had a private room. At 5 o'clock, I woke up. I was hungry, and they fed me. And I was able to get out of bed and walk, go to the washroom and come back, and do all that sort of stuff. And the nurses couldn't believe it, nor could the cardiologist in Penticton. He says, we could be writing a book about what happened to you because people saw you heal in front of their eyes. And this slice that they had cut me open on the Tuesday, on the Saturday was totally healed. It was also Olympic time in Utah. Sunday night when Canada's got the 5th goal to go ahead 5-3, I let out a yell, "Scores!" just like I do in the stuff, and it was heard all through the 4th floor at St. Paul's Hospital. They figured, he's doing all right. So that's what happened when I kind of visualized myself healing. And the doctor told me, he says, we've never seen anything like that. So there is power in the mind. That's not the only thing that ever happened to me on the third Tuesday in February. I went 4 years ago to a playoff game with Randy Bedard. I was watching the first game of the playoffs between the Coyotes and the Kelowna Chiefs. The referee made a terrible call, and I yelled at him. What happened then, my heart started beating from 70 beats a minute to 210 beats a minute. And on Friday morning, they rushed me to the hospital. Fortunately, my doctor was at South Okanagan. This is 9 o'clock. Sirens going, the whole bit. And he says, well, we don't have time to take your heart down with drugs. I'm going to have to use the shock thing. And he says, here's the bottom line. It's 50-50 whether you're going to live. I smiled. I said, let's get at it, because I can't go like this. So I got the shock. A few days later, I'm in Victoria getting a pacemaker, which, right in here. And it's only worked once. And that was New Year's Eve. They told me they can read all the information, these things. And they said, you had a correction. I said, oh, when was that? They said, December 31st at 11 at night. Now that night I happened to be emceeing in Peachland, a New Year's Eve show with the Kenny Rogers tribute artist, who's the #1 in the world. And they asked me to do 3 songs, so I did Back the Knife. And then being an old rocker that I am, I did a couple of Stones numbers, Honky Tonk Women and Brown Sugar. And I was pretty tired towards the end of Brown Sugar. And I guess what had happened is it took 1 second for my pacemaker to put my heart back into normal. So the doctors, the following summer, checking on that, he says, what happened there? And I explained to him. The doctor, the cardiologist, he says, you were doing what? I said, I was on stage doing this and doing a couple of Mick Jagger songs. And I am a professional performer, folks. So I get up there and have some fun at it. The doctor stood and he looked at me for about 15 seconds, and then he shook my hand and he says, we can't improve on that. We'll see you next year. So I just wanted to say to everybody, I've been right in the face of death, and with a positive aspect and a positive way if you feel about things, things can work out well. And hopefully, because something like this will happen to somebody you know or you yourself somewhere down the line. And if you take something from what I've said today about being a positive experience and put it to work, it just might be the best thing that ever happened to you. So I thank you very much. I'm sorry I couldn't give you the highlights tonight. I thought I would just be a motivational speaker instead, because tonight and this day has been a historic one for me in the past. And you can see the video probably in a day or two through the webcast, through the Coyotes web site. Thank you very much, and sorry again, folks.